I went to elementary school at Clinton Elementary, which is still there, and I went to junior high school, which is now called middle school, at Crestview, and then North High School, all in Columbus, Ohio. And then I went to Ohio State University in the College of Education with a major in theater, speech and theater. I graduated from Ohio State in 1949 and started my career in teaching. I did my student teaching at Central High School in Columbus, Ohio in speech, and the teacher there was my advisor, and the speech teacher to high school wanted to get out of theater. She didn't like the time to direct plays. So she said she would retire from that if I promised to take the job. And the president of the school board was very happy because they didn't care for her. And so I did take over the job in mid-year, which was unusual. I was lucky to get into the Columbus Public School system because normally you had to have 2 years experience in the county, but I got in without any past experience. After I had taught for a year and a half at the Central High School, I was drafted for the Korean War, although it was Korean conflict. I was fortunate though, sent to Germany instead of Korea. And that was a good experience because we could travel Europe, pretty much. I was in the medical corps, supposedly a field medic, but I didn't have to practice that at all. I was in the Department of Information and Education, which is refresher courses for troops and that sort of thing. I continued teaching at the same school. They had to hold my job for me. The teacher had taken my place for 2 years, got to stay teaching Spanish. So I stayed at Central High School then until 1956, when I moved closer to home to North High School, where I had gone to high school, and I was on the faculty there for 10 years until I moved to Whetstone High School, where your dad graduated from, and I even had him working in my office a couple periods a week. I was the activities coordinator after a while. Well, she was a student at the high school where I was teaching, but she didn't know anything about me. Well, yes, she did. She thought I was stuck up. And then after she graduated, sometime I called her up and had a date. The proposal was kind of interesting. Sylvia's parents were from Italy and had moved here from Italy to Columbus, Ohio. And we called them old school or old country. And when I wanted to propose to Sylvia, I asked my father, do I ask her father permission to marry her? And well, he said, that isn't done much here, but he's from the old country. Maybe you better ask. So the night I wanted to propose to her, he was watching television and I went in and sat down and had a question, and he wanted to, I'd like to marry your daughter. And he waved his hand at me, just a minute, wait to commercial or something similar to that. And he quizzed me about 2 or 3 things, and I'm sure this happened, but Sylvia wasn't there. He finally said, how long have you been messing around with my daughter? Which I thought was a little funny, but of course couldn't laugh at the time. Well, it turned out later, I was his 4th son-in-law, and I was the first one to have asked him for his daughter's hand in marriage, and he didn't know what to do about it. It was such a new experience, and that's why he was putting me off until the commercial. So we got married. My honeymoon was on a fruit boat out of New Orleans, and it was a American fruit company, and they were going to South America to pick up bananas, but they had about 50 passengers. The second day out, I started to have stomach cramps. And I went to the doctor, and he thought I needed a laxative. It was just something to do with the excitement of being on my honeymoon and a new bride and a new groom and all that. Well, this got worse and worse, and the doctor did give me a laxative, and it turned out that I had appendicitis. The odd thing about it was the doctor turned out to be a drunk, and that was the only reason he was on the boat, because he couldn't hold down another job. I had been fresh out of the Army Medical Corps, and I said, it sounds like an appendix to me. And he said, no, you're just excited. Don't worry about it. It'll pass. Well, things got worse, and we were headed to Panama, the Panama Canal Zone, and the captain came down and said, I'm sorry this is all happening. We're running full speed, and I've never run this craft full speed, and I've got a heart condition. We tried to get a helicopter out for you, but it's too rough for the helicopter to land on the boat. So we're trying to get you to Panama. Well, they got me to the Isthmus of Panama, in a government hospital there, and our room was in a cramped, ship room was in a cramped area, and they couldn't get the stretcher around the corner. I had to get up and walk off the boat. And then we got to the hospital. It was a Sunday morning, and my appendix had ruptured. So they had called the chief surgeon in to do it on Sunday morning, and he operated, and they were afraid to knock me clear out, so it was just a local epidural. So then I talked to the nurse during the entire operation, and turned out she was stationed at the 97th General Hospital in Munich, and I was at the 96th General Hospital in Frankfurt. So we chatted about the Army hospitals, and things went all right. And after I recovered from that same day, the doctor came back in to see how I'm doing and patted me on the head and said, welcome back, we didn't expect you to make it. Which was a little bit of a shock. Betsy was born when I was teaching at Central. That's right, we had the show one night, and I had to miss that. And then Jeff was born when I was teaching at North. University Hospital. And I remember when Betsy stayed with my parents, Sylvia was in the hospital. They stayed in the hospital with children longer, 2 or 3 days, I think. But anyhow, my mother was holding Betsy in her arms in the parking lot, waving up to Sylvia, looking out the window at her babe, her firstborn, down there in the parking lot, because children weren't allowed on the maternity ward. So that was a moving experience. Our summer vacations were rather interesting. We had a tent trailer, which we had borrowed a neighbor's tent trailer to try it out. And that's one of those things that unfolds, and it has a hard body, but it unfolds into a decent size. But we bought our own, and Betsy was just going into junior high, I think, and Jeff was younger, when we took a grand tour west to do all the national parks, California and back. And there was always a big funny joke, not just with our family, but after 2 weeks of being together as a family in the car, you were ready to fight. We were a progressive family. We did it in 1 week. And I was sure we were going to put them all on the bus and send them home. Jeff purchased a Mickey Mouse muscle shirt, which he wore for 2 weeks straight. It got washed occasionally, but all the pictures have him in that Mickey Mouse muscle shirt. We often wondered if they were too young for this kind of trip, but every now and then they remember something from those, even though we didn't know they were paying attention. We were reluctant to leave Columbus, Ohio, because both Sylvia and I had been born and raised there and spent our entire lives there. But our daughter Betsy lived in Nashville and thought it was advisable, we thought it was advisable to come to a retirement center, which also had health centers attached as we've gotten older and will need more medical attention later. So we moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and been here for a little over 2 years. And it's a good environment, a lot of new friends, a lot of new activities. Well, it's been a good life. I had a good youth. Really had no problems. We got along well, even on the low salaries for school teachers, but we had the summers off. I have no regrets, things I might have done better or differently. It's been a good life, and we're happy here in the retirement center because we can do as much as we want or as little as we want and have all the facilities we need. And it's been a good life, good childhood, good adulthood, and good marriage.